Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. So guys, I received a message from one of my viewers and he sent me this link here. Early Bitcoin investor reveals with cryptocurrencies what he would HODL or FODL. And again, this guy, guys, is a YouTube video from May 18th, 2018, so it's pretty old. But this particular viewer was concerned because he was wondering and he was worried about his XRP investments. And so at the 7-minute and 4-second mark on this video, Nano, he's the on-chain capital founder. He deals a lot with cryptocurrencies, and he's talking to the CNBC people what he would hold and what he would fold, basically. And so essentially, I'm not going to play the video for copyright reasons, but essentially what he mentions, and again, this is a pretty old video. It's from May. I mean, I guess that's old in the crypto space, or, you know, with the daily news cycle and whatnot, but he basically says that he would throw the XRP token in the garbage. And so I guess I don't actually really know how much Nano knows or knew at that time how significant XRP is in this whole ecosystem. And he goes on to say he's done his research and he basically doesn't understand what the XRP token is used for. Now, again, this is back in May, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't know about XRapid. I don't believe that Spring was released at that point. I don't believe it was announced yet. Or maybe it was, because I think it was announced in May, but maybe it was later in May. I'm not entirely sure. So he basically explains he doesn't understand why anyone would hold it. He explains that it has no use. Which we know isn't correct because, of course, you know, there's XRapid. Spring is developing platforms for new entrepreneurs to use the XRP token. So there's clearly a use, guys. And, you know, when you come across these videos on YouTube or what have you, you got to always remember what people's primary MOs are. CNBC, part of the system, okay? As you can see, even just looking at this screen, this is like Media Literacy 101. What do they have here in the corner? A little graphic box with the real-time Bitcoin price. So clearly, guys, the people who are watching this, you know that this is not a coincidence. It's not like Bitcoin paid them a lot of money to have the Bitcoin price in the left-hand side of the screen, right below the guest's face, right? We know that financial institutions are pushing Bitcoin. Bitcoin is their horse. Bitcoin is the one they're investing in. We're talking about ETFs regarding Bitcoin. We're talking about financial money flowing into Bitcoin. We're talking about Bitcoin possibly replacing gold. I remember reading an article about that. So guys, these guys are very, very Bitcoin biased. So when you hear somebody say something, you always have to look at the context. And I'm not putting down my viewer at all for not knowing this. I just want to kind of bring it to the forefront because when you hear stuff like this, you have to always understand context, right? And so just going back to the XRP token, this article from today, actually, Ripple CTO contributed key changes to Bitcoin in its early stages. So this article goes on to talk about David Schwartz. I believe it was in his AMA where he talks about him actually contributing to key changes to Bitcoin in its earlier days. And he goes on to talk about how there's a big problem with Bitcoin regarding transaction fee cost, the proof of work system versus Ripple's consensus system. And these are two different systems on the back end to take care of the double spend problem. So, right, obviously you don't want people to be spending the same cryptocurrency in two different places. That would actually make the cryptocurrency not work properly, right? So he addresses this and he really does, you know, give his, you know, true opinions. I mean, you know, Bitcoin was the beginning. Like, you know, we can all hold Ripple and we can all be like, you know, haha, Bitcoin Lightning Network and have the little lightning icon beside our names on Twitter and all that stuff. But realistically, guys, we've got to remember Bitcoin came from a place that was very, very different back when it was back at its inception, right? And so these cryptographers, you know, they respect Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the first. It's like respecting Elvis Presley for his role in music today, popular music, right? You might not be the biggest Elvis Presley fan necessarily, but you are still going to respect Elvis Presley for what he has contributed to modern day music. And the same goes for Bitcoin, guys. And so David Schwartz explains this, you know, he saw an opportunity. He was hired by Jed McCaleb. He realized that he could make Bitcoin better, and so he created XRP. And this article here, tweeted to me by XRP_Canada, Love that guy. Follow him on Twitter if you don't already, guys. XRP built for business from the very start. One of the most common lines of attack against XRP is that it's heavily centralized and that it's not a true cryptocurrency. Sorry, real quick, just going back to the Rand Van Nooner piece, that was one of the other things that he talks about. He's like, oh, well, Ripple centralized, Ripple centralized. And again, guys, this is back from May 18th. A lot of this information becomes obsolete after a few weeks or a couple months. But as we know, XRP is not centralized, right? If you watch this clip, he's like saying all these things that are so inaccurate. It just wants to make your mind explode because it's so inaccurate and it's just false information. So that was the other thing, just that he tells the hosts on this Fast Money show that XRP is centralized and he wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But guys, as we know, that's not true. Or at this time, maybe the perception was true, but as we know now, Ripple doesn't hold the majority of nodes and they are being run independently from people outside of Ripple, the company. So that goes to the decentralization argument. But in spite of this, he continues to grow in adoption relative to supposedly more decentralized cryptos. So what makes it tick? Well, it all boils down to how it's really built. And the fact that XRP is not decentralized, of course, isn't very accurate. If anything, XRP had a vision of mass adoption built in from the get-go. So guys, David Schwartz saw the problems with Bitcoin, was hired by Jeb McCaleb, and started, he's a really, really smart guy. He was the lead cryptographer at Ripple, and so he created the XRP token with these things in mind. The built-in mass adoption capabilities. One of the key reasons why XRP is gaining in adoption, not just in the banking sector, but also as a base currency in exchanges, is due to its practicality. It is fast, low cost, and highly secure. It achieves this because from the very beginning, XRP was built for real-life usage. And at scale, according to David Schwartz, XRP is able to scale without increasing costs because its use of validators instead of miners. So guys, again, this just goes back to this article here. David Schwartz realizing the problems with Bitcoin, building upon it, improving upon it, while creating XRP, okay? XRP also has in its architecture a system that regulates fees to ensure that costs never hurt its usability as a currency. This aspect to XRP gives it a massive edge over the proof-of-work coins where miners have the incentive to keep transaction costs high for them to maintain their profitability. This goes to show that from the very beginning, XRP was built with a well-thought-out vision of usability at a global level with millions of transactions taking place regularly and without an impact on the network. Goes on to talk about the centralization, which we've touched on briefly. In essence, with its architecture that is built for usability in business, XRP will, without a doubt, continue to gain in adoption. The finance industry is already going big on XRP and leveraging its power and facilitating cross-border transfers. It won't be long before XRP becomes the standard in banking and take over $20 trillion plus in market. 20 trillion. That's an amazing estimate. Over time, it will become the standard for everyday business too, as merchants begin to adopt it for its usability. And so guys, ultimately in conclusion, they're saying that the XRP token will be used. It was built for this. We know Ripple's partnered with lots of banks and financial institutions. And guys, this is what smart companies do. They hire smart people like David Schwartz, people with a knowledge, people who have actually contributed key changes to Bitcoin in its early stages. And so they hire these people to create their own cryptocurrency who understand the limitations, who understand the shortfalls and the shortcomings of cryptocurrencies past, i.e. Bitcoin, and they hire them to create something new, i.e. XRP, a new cryptocurrency where now they know all the kinks are worked out. So I hope that answers your question. I know I did respond to the viewer in the comments section. However, this is a video kind of talking about this as well, in case some of my other viewers don't know. Thanks guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.